wonderful. So we have had a lovely horror selection of short films, and we have a couple of filmmakers here. So if you'd like to introduce yourselves as to who you are, what you worked on, and your role in that film.
Hi, I'm Stephen Lancefield, and I'm the director of the documentary The Spirits of Penge.
I'm Joe, and I made the film Magic Cottage.
So, finding it hard to where to begin, because these are quite interesting shorts, but let's throw back a question that I know you have been asked in the past, but since then, have you shown your documentary to the ghosts?
No, I have not. I haven't been back to the house that we shot it in, but actually that'd be quite an interesting thing as well, to try and see if we get any reaction to them watching themselves, I guess, as well, in the house in Penge.
Yes. And I know it's only been 2 weeks since you've been last asked that, but I would like to find out whether, yes, you should go back and establish that.
It's definitely an idea.
So, if we start with the documentary element, how was it filming something that gets quite creepy?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't actually expect it to be that creepy, really, because I was at a New Year's Eve party with my good friends Helen and Claire, and I met Jeff and Michael there, and they obviously spoke about how they lived in the house with 3 ghosts, and I thought, ideal documentary subject. But it was meant to actually be quite light-hearted. I knew the Ghost Hunters from previously times, and the previous Ghost Hunter documentary was quite light-hearted. It's called The Telscombe Hauntings. And yeah, so we came there obviously with Sarah, the presenter, and it just got creepier than we thought. Obviously people were saying, ghosts saying our names and stuff, and it wasn't quite intended to be creepy. It was actually meant to be quite light-hearted.
And is this something you'd ever explore as a fiction piece of work?
I think I have made other ghost stories as well, which are kind of fiction as well, and they tend to be a bit more, they're kind of slicker to a certain extent as well, because I think if you're making a fictional piece as well, it's, you can storyboard it, you can get kind of actors on board, you can get lighting. Obviously in this case as well, we didn't know what was going to happen, so we're literally on the hoof with the cameras, just filming whatever happened, really.
And Joe, so yours was it a student piece? Because you mentioned that you made it as a student.
It was a long time ago, yeah, so back in '93, 32 years ago, but I was never really a film student. I couldn't get into film school.
I mean, how was it received at the time? Because it is an amazing short.
Thank you.
And you can see the horror influences, and I feel like the reactions now may be very different to back in the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, the disclaimer at the beginning of the film was one thing I kept in the film. That was something I had to put on because when it was first submitted to the BFI Lesbian and Gay Film Festival, which wasn't called Flair back then, they didn't want it. They thought it was about AIDS, and they thought it was a very derogatory view of AIDS, which was not the intention. But I put that disclaimer up, and then they showed it. As it says, it's about sexual addiction, nothing to do with HIV. But at the time, everyone was very concerned with things around HIV more than now, because it was the 90s.
And what prompted you both to make this to begin with, but also now to restore it and bring it back out?
Yeah, I mean, I remember a friend of a friend had come back from Hampstead Heath one day, and she was very, very angry that she'd seen some men having sex on the heath. And it made me think, she was so angry, but it made me think about the fact that at the time, straight people could, if not have sex everywhere, but they could certainly canoodle and kiss and so on and make out in every park in London, and that she resented that gay men at the time were sort of had to go to places like Hampstead Heath. It just got me thinking, so that the whole first sequence was about the freedom of sort of straight people having to do what they like in parks on a warm summer's day. So that was really the catalyst to the film, and the prompt to restore it was just well, that's a long story, but it was back in the 90s. It was before Avid, so we had to cut it on video. I transferred all the film onto video, and it just ended up looking quite fuzzy and low grade. And as it's a long story, lost tapes and so on. But then the BFI showed it a couple of times just before and after COVID at the NFT, and it just struck me that it was such a shame that it didn't look quite as good as it could do. So I thought about restoring it, and here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very much glad that you did, because the chance to see. How was it seen on the big screen?
Yeah, I mean, it was loud,
Oh.
very loud. And I spotted a couple of mistakes which I'm going to have to sort out. But that's, yeah. But no, it was fantastic, and yeah, so that's the first time I've seen it that big. So thank you for letting that happen.
So you mentioned spotting mistakes. To completely flip that, not to let you, because you were about to say something, is there something nice that you want to, like, something seen that you're proud of, that you're happy to be able to see that, or for both of you? So not to let you dwell on any mistakes. Give me the positives.
I think it's always kind of nice to have a screen in front of an audience actually as well, because every single audience reacts differently. And I tend to be a bit weird. I can tend always to sit at the back of an audience and try and see kind of how people's reactions are and stuff like that as well. So I think for me, almost kind of seeing the different reactions. And we've had sometimes people have been, it's been titters of laughter, because sometimes people don't realise it's a documentary. They think it might be a mockumentary. So it's quite interesting to see kind of people's reactions from that every time. And I think also it's just I'm really kind of happy with how our presenter, kind of Sarah, comes across as well. I think she kind of brings it really together professionally. So as a viewer, I kind of quite always enjoy kind of Sarah's performance, and just or how the guys come across it. I hate watching myself. That's just one thing that I don't particularly enjoy very much. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I think my favourite thing has always been putting the music on films, and the first version of the film had a totally different soundtrack, things like Barbra Streisand. And then I thought, let me get some other music and get clearance for it. So all the music you heard has been cleared for use, and that was a really enjoyable part of the process. Asking the musicians for permission, didn't pay for any of it, but a lot of them said no, you can have it free, and it was very exciting getting the emails saying yeah, you can use it. I actually ended up with more music than I needed, and it was hard to choose which tracks to use, but I'm very pleased with the new selection of music.
Have you made anything since the 90s, or did you leave it in your
I made one film after that, which was a film to literally try and get on audition at the National Film School. It was about a woman who kidnapped some students of the National Film School and held them ransom to get an interview. And it worked, it got me an interview, but I didn't get a place. And yeah, that was back in the 90s.
Would you? I feel like there's a lot of fun things that are in your head. Would you ever consider going back into making films?
That's a big question. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of at a loss of what to do at the moment. I've been DJing for the last 30 years, and that's coming to an end now, I think. Maybe, who knows? So yeah, I'm at a bit of a crossroads. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of films about, and a lot of good films about, like the ones we saw tonight. So do we need any more films? Who knows? I don't know. Maybe we do. Yeah.
That's always. I feel like that's always a filmmaker's debate of do we need it? But yeah, the answer is yes, because that was insane in the best way possible. I absolutely loved the bizarre nature of it, but also the fact that it was something from the 90s and it was shot on film, that it had that nice aesthetic, and then the absolute. It was very creepy. I just can't get over how creepy your film was, like in a good way. Like
a few people said it's quite creepy. Yeah.
So, is there any kind of for both of you? Is there any kind of piece of advice that you would like to give to someone who's going to make the film for the first time, whether it be on film or digitally?
I think my piece of feedback, to get feedback really is especially as well. I think once it's all put together as well. To workshop it, to get it in front of an audience and try and see if it works, because I think sometimes having that second opinion is actually really helpful. And I've said it before, but my parents are quite good critics as well, and often they hit it on the head. And if something doesn't work, they'll just say, do you know what? Sorry, it's not your best one, or you can do this to improve it. And I think to listen to that feedback is really important.
Yeah, I'd say stand back from the film, leave it for a while, and then come back to it and have a rethink. Or I mean, it's the first time I've seen my film for a while, and yeah, it was just very odd, and looking at it almost from a far away perspective. It's if you can get the opportunity to do that, to wait 2 or 3 months and then just watch it afresh and then see what you think. That would be my advice, which I would give myself as well. Yeah.
I think they're both very good pieces of advice. Do we have any audience questions? Oh, one up front.
Question for Joe. What were the horror inspirations for your film? Was there any sort of films that you'd seen that you kind of...
Yeah, I mean, I was a big zombie film fan, obviously, and I'm getting, this feels like a derelict shopping centre we're in at the moment, in a nice way, but there is an apocalyptic feeling to this sort of almost deserted cinema, so I think that's quite appropriate. But yeah, I'm a big George Romero fan, so there's a bit of a homage to Night of the Living Dead with the picnic and the coming of the dusk type scenario. So yeah.
We were talking earlier, Carrie and I, and she was saying she also felt a bit of John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness leering away in there. So yeah, interesting. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, one at the front.
I know this is going to sound a really old question, but was that an hour price that you had in the archival footage?
Yeah, that was our price in Surrey Quay Shopping Centre, which is another shopping centre that's about to be demolished, but it's still there, but the our price is long gone. Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah.
How long did the filming process take?
For the Spirits of Penge, it was literally just shot in one evening, essentially, so it was just a bit of prep for us as well, and then we literally just got everyone together in the house. So it was one evening. The editing was a bit longer, because
That's crazy.
so it's quite, but I guess the prep as well, getting the ghost hunters in place and stuff like that as well, there's a fair bit of prep before it, but the actual filming, just one evening.
Well, I guess my film was 32 years, from making it in 93 to restoring it in 2024, so a bit of a contrast.
But what about the film, only the filming? How long did that take?
Oh, probably the actual filming was maybe 2 or 3 weeks. The summer of 93. That long summer of 93, yeah.
Do you have any more questions? Yeah, sorry, I can see a hand there.
No, I got things. Maybe you can go first.
Okay. Have they managed to sell the house yet?
I think the house owners are still in the process of trying to sell the house. I mean, it's a beautiful house. I mean, I'm not just saying that because I went in there and it's properly beautiful. So I'm sure they'll have no issues. But I think they were slightly wary, obviously, at the time of selling it, to not get it too much out there as well, because obviously having a haunted house might be a might be a plus for some people. People might be a freebie to come with it as well. But at the moment, I think they're looking to move to Cornwall. I think is a plan. Hopefully, yeah.
So I'm just wondering, the Magic Cottage, how was the filming process? What was the team? How many people were you? Did you collaborate with someone?
It was mostly just me, but I did have some help for a few scenes from Lynn Ramsey, who you may recognise the name. She went on to do Ratcatcher, and We Need to Talk About Kevin, and she was a big deal. And she did some of the interior shots in the toilet. Yeah.
And the actors were
Ray, the actress. Yeah, it was her birthday yesterday. No, she was just a friend of mine. But they're all just friends. Yeah.
Well, Joe again. Sorry. What was the biggest challenge in your shoot, bearing in mind that slightly different times?
Actually, just a memory of the first toilet I chose was in Finsbury Park, and we turned up and it was actually being demolished. So that was a bit of a setback. But yeah, I keep saying we, it was me. So you're always meant to say we, aren't you, when you make a film, but me. I found the replacement toilet, and the staff there were very helpful. And I don't remember, the technical side, there's a lot of out of focus stuff. I'm not the greatest cinematographer, but sometimes the out of focus stuff worked, giving it that, that's why I tell myself that magical blurry quality. That's probably the biggest challenge, just getting the camera in focus.
Oh, yeah, there's one back there.
Just another really quick question about working in a haunted house. Were there any strange things that happened to your equipment when you were recording?
Ooh.
Yes, actually, there was one thing that we didn't actually use. We had a secondary camera which actually broke down as well, which we couldn't use. So obviously the main camera worked, that was fine. Also as well, I'd brought in a smoke machine as well, just for some effects, just to kind of have some, just for a photo shoot bit as well, not for the actual filming of it. And the smoke machine didn't work. So there's a few things that, yeah, it was a camera and the smoke machine that we brought in for the photo shoot, both of which just conked out halfway through filming, so we couldn't use either of them. And then obviously I had tested them both in advance. They both worked at home, got them into the house, didn't work at all, got them back and they worked again. So whatever happened in that house, it didn't seem to like the kit.
Is there any more?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, if you could in one sentence describe advice to somebody who wants to make a film, what would it be?
I guess for me it would be just to get out there and do it. I think as well, there's so many kind of fears about getting it absolutely right and absolutely perfect. I think you've got to start somewhere. So I'd say if you're interested in making a film, I'd say just get out there and do it. And you know, it's great to have the funding behind it. If you don't have the funding, still make it and still learn from that process. And you know, hopefully people will enjoy it, even if it's not a multi-million production. You know, it's worth just doing it and getting out there and having fun with it as well, I think too.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think festivals like this prove that there is an audience and a place to show films that aren't, as you say, big budget Hollywood films, and I think that's great to see, and great that Carrie and this festival is continuing. So, yeah.
Thank you. Is there any more? Because I do have one. I have one. So if you could remake any film ever, but using puppets, what film would it be?
Ooh, that's a really difficult question. Do you know what? I mean, stop motion Jaws would be quite fun, wouldn't it? I think with the shark.
Yeah, I'd do Dawn of the Dead, and I'd use this shopping mall and just get a load of puppets and film them wandering around this deserted shopping mall.
We'll get the puppets. You bring the.
Okay.
And my final question is: where, after the festival run, where would your films be available, for anyone to watch, if they're going to go anywhere?
I've sold out. Mine's on YouTube, so you can actually watch it on YouTube. It's under my name, Stephen Lancefield. It's on my YouTube channel. So if you want to relive the creeps, it's all on there.
Yeah, I'll put mine on YouTube as well. But it's at the BFI Flair Festival on March 24th and 25th, and also in Hastings in their film festival on April the 12th. So yeah, get a ticket.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Can we get a round of applause, please?